According to the FTC, there's 10 sneaky things only scammers will say to trick you and drain your bank accounts.
$65,000 is now out of my wife and my retirement savings. Gone.
We lost close to $140,000.
It's almost like somebody stabbed me and took $38,000 from my wallet. I can't let this go. I'm never gonna let this go.
Scammers know exactly what to say to make you panic, doubt yourself, and follow orders without question. And if you don't recognize the red flags, you could be walking straight into a trap that empties your bank account and ruins your credit. And the FTC just released its latest scam data for 2024, and things are looking even worse. Money lost to scams jumped from $10 billion in 2023 to a staggering $12.5 billion in 2024. And this completely blew my mind. It's not just seniors who are losing the most money, younger people are the most at risk. A whopping 44% of scam victims last year were between the ages of 20 and 29. So today you'll see how scammers don't just lie, they play twisted mind games. They'll make you believe someone you love is hurt, in danger, or even responsible for taking innocent lives. They'll terrify you with fake jail sentences to push you into immediate action and even trick you into lying to your own bank to cover their tracks. The first thing they'll tell you is to act now. This is the urgency trap. Have you ever gotten a call or email that made your heart race? Scammers thrive on panic, using fear to cloud judgment and force people into quick, irrational decisions. They don't want you to think, just react. So scammers create a fake crisis to pressure you into action before you have time to verify their claims. Their goal is to bypass logic and make you act out of fear. So some common scare tactics are, they'll say something like, you're being charged $500 for this service, pay now to stop it. Or your social security number has been suspended due to fraud, call immediately. Or maybe even your loved one is in jail, send bail money now. I've even heard you have a warrant for your arrest, pay immediately or police are coming. Now, all of those sound terrifying, right? And that's the point. Scammers know when people panic, they make mistakes. For example, Anthony, who is a retired father, was enjoying his morning coffee when his phone rang. The voice on the other end was his son. His son said, "Dad, I got in a horrible accident. I need your help." And Anthony's stomach dropped. His son's voice sounded shaken, almost unrecognizable. Then another man got on the phone, someone claiming to be a lawyer. And they said your son caused a serious crash and the other driver is a pregnant woman and she's in critical condition. We need $9,200 for bail immediately. Anthony's hands shook as he rushed to the bank to get the money. And then hours later, that same lawyer called back and said the driver has passed away. Bail just increased to $15,800. We need it now. So Anthony followed the instructions again, handing that money over to a courier outside his house. And it wasn't until he called his son later that day that he realized it was all fake. So in a situation like this, you want to stop and breathe. You know, scammers want you to panic. So don't give them the power and take a deep breath and take a step back. And then you want to verify independently. If it's a family emergency, call your loved one directly. If it's a bank alert, hang up and call the number on your bank's website. And never send money under pressure. Real organizations don't demand immediate payments. Bail can't be paid over the phone. If someone claims it can, it's a scam. Now that you know how scammers trick you into acting fast, let's talk about how they got your info, how they can get your information in the first place, because that's the part nobody talks about. And this is exactly why I use my sponsor, Aura. Aura is an all-in-one digital security app that protects you from scams, fraud, and identity theft before any of it happens. When I signed up for Aura almost 2 years ago, I found out a ton of my personal info had been leaked in data breaches, stuff like my name, phone number, home address, even passwords. And all of it was being sold by data brokers on the dark web. After that big social security breach last year, your information could already be floating around out there too, and you might not even know it. So Aura scans the dark web 24/7 and sends me alerts if anything sketchy shows up. It comes with real-time fraud monitoring, a VPN so I can browse safely, antivirus support, and a password manager that helps me keep all my logins secure. But what I really like is Aura doesn't just react, It actually helps stop scammers before they can do anything with your info. Because once someone has your email, our phone number, and password, it's game over. And I'm not taking any chances with that. And you can try Aura totally free for 14 days if you go to aura.com/Cal Barton. And I promise you'll be shocked at what it finds on you. Now, the next thing scammers do and say is they try to control the narrative. They'll say things like, only say what I tell you to say. And imagine you walking into your bank, your heart's pounding, you're about to withdraw thousands of dollars, but the person who convinced you to do it has already told you exactly what to say if any questions are asked. And this is a classic scammer tactic, and it's designed to keep banks from protecting you by making everything seem normal. If you've ever been asked to lie about why you're moving money, that's a huge red flag. And banks and financial institutions have fraud detection measures in place to protect their customers. If a teller notices an unusual withdrawal, they might ask questions. What is this for? They might flag the transaction. This seems suspicious. Let's verify it. And I've seen this before. They could even warn you. They will say, this could be a scam, or are you sure that you want to proceed? And scammers can't afford for that to happen. If you hesitate or let the bank intervene, their entire plan just falls apart. So instead, they coach you to lie, making you an unknowing accomplice in your own scam. Let's go back to Anthony's story from earlier and focus on the moment that sealed his fate. So as he walked into the bank, his mind was racing, obviously. And the lawyer on the phone had been firm and said withdraw $9,200 in cash and tell the bank it was for solar panels. Absolutely do not mention bail, or the transaction could be delayed. Now, I know Anthony never explicitly said the scammer told him to lie, but based on what I've seen covering these scams, that's almost certainly what happened. Scammers know that banks are trained to flag unusual withdrawals, so they give these victims a safe explanation that won't raise suspicion. And Anthony followed the script word for word, and because nothing seemed out of the ordinary, the teller processed the withdrawal without hesitation. Had he mentioned bail, the teller might have spotted the scam and stopped him. Now, the next thing only scammers will tell you is don't trust anyone. They're in on it. And these are really like isolation tactics. So if you ever had a gut feeling that something was off, but someone insisted you were wrong, that's exactly what scammers exploit. They want you to ignore your instincts and trust only them. This is one of the most powerful weapons in a scammer's playbook. They know that if you tell someone or anyone that they could talk you out of it. So they do everything they can to make you feel alone and afraid. And the moment a scammer senses doubt, they flip the story on you. They'll say things like, you can't trust anyone, they're working against you. Or the bank teller will try to block this because they don't want you to get your money. They could even say your family won't believe you. They'll just make things worse. So by convincing you that everyone else is against you, scammers gain total control over your decisions. It's like being led down a dark alley with only one voice telling you where to go. And then once they have you trapped in their reality, getting out becomes much harder. And I can't stress this enough. What you really want to do is hang up and verify. Scammers thrive on keeping you engaged and overwhelmed. So cut off communication and look up the facts and call the people for yourself. Another thing only scammers will tell you is do this or you'll be arrested. This is the threatening part of the scam. And really, this is truly terrifying because, imagine picking up the phone and hearing, this is Officer Daniels from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and we have a warrant out for your arrest. Your mind's going to race. You're going to be thinking like, what did I do? Did I miss a payment? Did someone steal my identity? Am I really about to go to jail? And this is exactly how scammers manipulate people by using fear and authority to just override logic and make you comply without questioning. And most people, when faced with a scam from someone claiming to be law enforcement or a government agency, just immediately assume it's real. And it's pretty obvious. I mean, we're taught to respect authority. We don't want legal trouble. At least I don't. And the threats sound real and urgent. And scammers know this, and they exploit it to the fullest. They will impersonate police officers, FBI agents, IRS officials, Social Security Administration reps. I mean, I've seen it all. And their goal is just to scare you into acting immediately before you have time to verify anything. And here's a few other statements they'll tell you, like your Social Security number has been linked to criminal activity, or failure to act will result in worse charges against your loved one. They can even tell you that you owe back taxes, and if you don't settle today, we're seizing all your assets. But the message is always the same. Do what we say or face extreme consequences. And going back to Anthony's example, if we focus on the moment that the scammer tightened their grip, you'll see that they told him that if you don't send the money right now, your son will stay in jail for 45 days. That's a huge threat. And that was all it took. The thought of his son sitting behind bars longer than necessary sent Anthony into a complete panic. The fear of making the wrong move, of being too slow, kept him from thinking clearly. And that's exactly what scammers want. Fear makes victims obedient. And a few things you want to remember is that government agencies never demand payments over the phone, except bail payments via gift cards or Bitcoin or wire transfers. So if someone threatens you with immediate arrest unless you pay, it's a scam. Another thing scammers will tell you is don't hang up. And they want to maintain control. Have you ever been on a call where a person on the other end refused to let you go? They kept talking and talking, making sure that you stayed on the line, pushing you to act fast. And that's not an accident. It's a calculated tactic. Scammers insist that you stay on the phone because they know the second you hang up, you might realize it's a scam. They need to keep you panicked, distracted, and compliant. And just think about what happens when you hang up. You get a moment to breathe and think clearly. You might call your family or your bank or the company in question. You'll have time to Google the situation and then realize it's a known scam. Scammers can't afford that. So they keep you on the phone, making sure that you don't stop to think. Because once you do, their entire con falls apart. And a few things they might say is stay on the phone while you withdraw the money. Or if you hang up, the transfer won't go through. I've even heard, I'm the only one who can fix this. Don't talk to anyone else. They'll tell you, if you tell anyone or in this call, we can't help you anymore. And according to the FTC, scammers will give you specific and often bizarre instructions that real businesses and banks and government agencies would never ask for. So if you hear anything like we're going to talk about, you're about to be scammed. Scammers might say something like, move your money to protect it. This goes along with the fake fraud alert scams. And scammers pretend to be your bank, the FDIC, the Better Business Bureau, or even law enforcement, and then tell you that your money is at risk. They'll insist that you must move your money to a safe account to protect it. They'll say something like, your account has been hacked. Move your money to a safe account immediately. Or withdraw all your cash now before it's too late. They even say if fraud alert was placed on your account, you must transfer your funds to a temporary safe account. And what they don't tell you is that obviously the safe account is actually controlled by them, the scammers. They might even walk you through the steps to wire the money to them. And once you transfer the money, it's gone forever. And a lot of people don't know that banks can't usually recover the money that was willingly transferred by you. So you got to remember that banks never ask you to move your money to protect it. If there's fraud, your bank will freeze suspicious transaction, but not ask you to send money elsewhere. Another thing a scammer will say is withdraw your money and buy gold bars. And this goes along with the investment fraud scams. So this scam plays on fear of bank failures or economic collapse. And scammers convince victims that the banking system is about to crash, so they should withdraw everything and buy gold instead. They'll say things like, your bank is failing, withdraw your money and buy gold bars to keep it safe. And they'll say government regulations are changing, only physical gold is secure. They might even say banks can freeze your accounts, but gold belongs to you. And so how it works is the scammer convinces you to withdraw large sums of money. They create that fear of the banking system. They push the alternative investment like gold, and then they'll direct you to a gold dealer who may be part of the scam. Then you're told to buy the gold bars instead of keeping cash. And it's most likely overpriced or fake gold. Then you're told to store the gold somewhere safe, but that's a trap too. The scammer or an associate takes the gold off your hands for safekeeping, then disappears. So you got to remember that banks don't tell customers to buy gold bars for financial security. No real advisor will rush you into withdrawing money either. So if someone claims to have insider knowledge about financial collapses, run for the hills. Another thing scammers typically say is withdraw the cash and then hand it to someone, and that's going to be like the courier scams that you've heard about earlier. After the scammer pretends to be the lawyer or the police officer or some sort of financial official, they'll tell you to withdraw money, then send it to a random person, often an Uber or Lyft driver, to pick it up. They'll say things like, the courthouse doesn't accept direct payments, so we're sending a courier. Or your relative's bill must be paid in cash and an officer will pick it up. Or they'll say, this is the fastest way to settle your legal issue. Just follow instructions. And if you go back to Anthony's story, specifically that final step, that's how the scammer got him to hand over the money. So after withdrawing that $25K in cash, Anthony assumed he'd be taking it to a courthouse or a police station, but the scammer had other plans. In Anthony's situation, the scammer said a courier is on the way to pick it up, and he instructed him that he's handling everything for us, just hand him the cash. And then wouldn't you know it, minutes later, an Uber driver pulled up outside Anthony's home. He barely spoke, just held out his hand, and without hesitation, Anthony's daughter handed over the envelope of cash. And just like that, the money was gone. So you must remember that no government agency or court or police department sends couriers to collect cash. Now, another thing scammers will say is go to a Bitcoin ATM. This is a cryptocurrency scam. So those scammers tell victims to convert cash into crypto using that Bitcoin ATM. Then they send it to them using a QR code. And they'll tell you something like your bank account is compromised. Transfer your funds to Bitcoin before it's too late. Or they'll say the IRS only accepts Bitcoin payments now. They can even say Bitcoin is the safest way to store your money. Cash isn't safe anymore. I've even heard, I'll send you the exact ATM location. Just go there and deposit the cash. It's the only one that can process this payment securely. And then obviously, once you send them the Bitcoin, it's untraceable and gone forever. So just know that the IRS does not accept Bitcoin. Banks don't request Bitcoin transfers, and those Bitcoin transactions cannot be reversed. So if anyone asks you to go to a Bitcoin ATM, it's 100% a scam. Another thing scammers will only say is buy gift cards. Scammers love gift cards because they are untraceable, just like Bitcoin, and easy to cash out. They'll say things like, due to banking restrictions, we can't accept direct payments, but a prepaid gift card will work just like cash. Or they'll say we're experiencing issues with traditional payment methods, so we're only accepting gift cards at this time. So what the scammer does is they pretend to be from your bank or government agency or a company, and then you, the victim, are instructed to buy gift cards from a store. When you scratch off the back and read the numbers aloud, that's when the scammer redeems the funds instantly, and then that money's gone forever. So just got to remember that no legitimate company or bank or agency ever asked for gift cards as payment. If you need to report a scam, just remember you can use my free identity theft checklist to find a dozen government agencies to report crimes like this to. You can grab that link below. And I wish this was all you needed to know to protect yourself from scams like this, but unfortunately, that's just not true. Scammers are out here working overtime, coming up with new ways to drain people's accounts every single month. That's exactly why I put together a playlist with all the biggest bank scams you need to know about. We're talking phone scams, shady credit card tricks, and even scams that banks don't want to warn you about. So don't wait until it's too late. Click on the playlist here and stay one step ahead of the scammers. Thank you for watching.